Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another special edition of the VOC Matric Revision program. And today we'll be focusing on English Paper 2. This will be session 1 with Muslima Ismail. Of course, if you would like to keep these videos, if you'd like to make sure that you can go back to them if you are unable to watch the entire live stream for whatever reason, you're welcome to go back to the YouTube and Facebook channels. The videos remain up there. Please do like and share on these platforms, and make sure that we can also spread the love around and have others as well benefit from these sessions. Today, joined once again by Muslima Ismail. Muslima, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome once again. And of course, today we'll be focusing on English paper 2. So we welcome you. If you have any questions around the paper, by all means, share them with us on the comments on the chat. And if we have time, we might be able to answer one or two, inshallah. Without further delay, Muslima, I hand over to you to proceed. Fight of Adhan. Just before we proceed, Muslima, if you can just unmute your microphone. Okay, we'll proceed.
Okay. So, I hope that everyone can hear me. Inshallah. Okay, so starting with paper 2, once again, inshallah. So immediately I will the first section, which is poetry. And also, just before going into this specific poem, which is, so there's set work of about 12 poems, and then you do 10 out of the 12 poems, from which you will be tested, some of them. So one of these poems is First Day After the War. So just to put this into context, the author of this poem, this poet, Mazisi Kunene, wrote a lot of poetry in South Africa during apartheid, and in this time obviously there was a great amount of discrimination and oppression, and this poem is about the joy that came at the end of that period of time, or the end of the government, the overthrowing of that. And it's a celebratory poem focusing on the freedom that people have and what they feel after being oppressed for such a long period of time. And the war also is the struggle for freedom of those people that were oppressed, right? And this poem specifically focuses on the celebrations that that happened amongst those who were victorious immediately after apartheid. And the wedding, as it is referred to, is a new unit sort of in society that is formed by joining of two individuals, and it refers to a new beginning. So this is obviously metaphorical, and it means that it's sort of a creation. When you have a wedding, it's a combination of two parts. So in this sense, it is a creation of new society that was brought about by struggle. So you had struggle and freedom, and now you have this new society. So in poetry, we focus on imagery, we focus on the themes, personification, structure of it as well. We also focus on tone and diction. So the mood of it and the word usage thereof as well. Right. So just going to this specific poem, which is the second poem in here. So as they do mention here imagery, punctuation, and tone. So punctuation would also fall under diction and word usage. So to go through this poem after giving context of it, um, I'll start immediately with the questions, right? So they refer to what does the word ululating in line 10 convey about the feelings of the people. So as I mentioned previously, that this poem is about, it is a celebratory poem, right? So of course it will be about, you know, how people celebrate the different methodologies within that, right? So of course here this is ululating is an expression of joy amongst African people, and then this word is it refers to onomatopoeia, and it conveys this, it gives a sound of people's expression of celebration, right? So these points that you give has to be very distinct and very relevant, right? So obviously because ululating is a word for a sound, and therefore we also say that it's onomatopoeia, and that's the conveyance of that sound as well. And then they asked to account for the we throughout the poem. So as you can see here from in line 2, line 8, and then from 12 to 15, and then 18 again, the use of we instead of making it a making it something about I. It's not about one person, it's about the whole group of people, right? So in this we have this we would definitely refer to, because we're speaking about freedom, right? And we're speaking about, you know, after apartheid, it will definitely be about standing together, about solidarity, and the repetition of something is also emphasis. So this emphasizes the feeling of unity and inclusivity in the country, right? After a period where there was discrimination and separation, right? And then this also has to be very distinct when you speak about it. You speak about unity, solidarity, inclusivity, you know, those type of things. And then in the same way that we previously did exam question terminologies that's used in this one, it's the same when they speak about account for, right? But it's only 2 marks, so just be distinct in certain points. Then thirdly, referring to the second and third lines, which is we saw a soft light coiling around the young blades of grass, right? And then discuss the appropriateness of this image in the context of the poem. So because this is also 3 marks, you would have to give at least 2 ideas, 2 well discussed ideas, or 3 ideas altogether, right? So the light here refers to hope, and because they're saying soft light, it's as if, you know, it's for example when sunrise, when we have sunrise, no? And then you see these little, as the sun comes up, you just see a you see like the light coming up, but you don't see sharp rays like you do when it's sunset. So it's almost like, there's that little bit of hope. It's starting to, you're almost starting to see it faintly, and then it comes sharp afterwards, right? So the light refers to the glimmers of hope that emerge from the darkness that they've been experiencing because of apartheid. And the light is also soft because it is delicate, fragile, and it's also very new because it's not something that they are used to. Um, then another point is the coiling around the blades of grass, which is speaking about hope, suggests vulnerability, tenderness, and also that it needs to be worked on. It needs to be nurtured because they just entered into this period now, so they need to almost have something to reassure them and also to support that hope that they are clinging on to. And that hope is also clinging on to the possibilities that the new day offers. And the light of hope is in contrast to the darkness of oppression, right? So coming out of darkness, you go into light. So coming out of oppression, you go into freedom. And it's also appropriate because it suggests that there is a beginning of something new, the beginning of a new life almost. And the description of the grass, it suggests that it will flourish and that peace will also prevail, right? So this is a very um, beautiful example of how you explain with minimal words um, something that is important to you and something new, and contrasting effects of different portions of life as well. And then um, oh yes, and also another thing with all this about this question is discussion, discussion of appropriateness, and also the context was also made mention of in that answer, right? Um, and then line 18 is we saw our ancestors traveling tall on the horizon. So this would more refer to how you see this poem, how you perceive this poem, the tone that you picked up and the tone that you connect to almost, to see or determine whether this is a fitting conclusion to the poem, right? So and also justifying your answer, right? So because it has a very positive tone, I suppose most of the answers would definitely be yes. Um, so the reference to the ancestors emphasizes that it's not only people who are in there in that moment physically are celebrating apartheid, but the ancestors, they are also traveling tall because they're proud of what has been achieved and their vision has been realized. And then also because they are on the horizon, it means that they're not physically present, they're looking over their descendants. And also this can additionally refer to the ancestors specifically can refer to the people that died in fighting to break all of these barriers and restrictions and oppressive laws of apartheid. So when they also speak about we, they are speaking about a collective. So they're speaking about this family of a country, and the ancestors are all of those people that were with them in the struggle, but also unfortunately, they were fighting, but they didn't lose the battle, but they didn't experience the win during their lifetime. So that is definitely something that is very it's very appealing also to look into to things in that way, and understand, okay, there's so much more to these little words, and also the feeling behind how apartheid was, because many students reading this now wouldn't have even been living in the time of apartheid, and just trying to understand and going through the motions of all of it. I mean, it's like the mood it heightens with happiness as you go on and on and on. So then another portion of this paper that I will go through is the drama, right? So one of the dramas in this one, besides Hamlet and Othello, by William Shakespeare, is The Crucible by Arthur Miller. So a background of this story or of this drama rather, is that in this book, or the setting of this book, it was in Salem. And so Salem is in America, and at this time also there was slavery, of course, and then there was also this it's the society that was deemed like full of witchcraft almost. So you'll even see some series or some movies when they go to Salem. There's a lot of, they're always speaking about, witchcraft and witches and black magic, things like that. So that is how this book sort of came about, and it's also about deception, about cheating, and so many different elements that comes along with the negativity of that witchcraft. And this is what the book is basically about, in just very extreme summary. So they also ask here, this is an essay question, right? So they say that you have to critically assess the validity of the statement in relation to the play. And the statement is that disorder brings chaos, resulting in the shattering of peace and stability. So contextually, placing this in this town where everything is, if they can't explain something or they don't have an answer for it, it's deemed witchcraft. In the society there was also a strong church presence, strong religious Christian presence, and because of that, it's almost as if they just want to get rid of the problems almost. And that is what they're referring to when they say disorder brings chaos. And by order they mean that people are obedient, they go to church, they follow all the religious orders, they are religious in that. And then chaos results in shattering of peace and stability. So of course when there's chaos, it means that there's a certain level of control, but that level is low with chaos. Whereas if you have order, then there's definitely control. And in this case, the church was high in the hierarchy of the town and its constituents. And so just looking at that, you can either answer the essay question, which would be it would be a lot to give, and you can also assessing this question from Marcus' point of view means that you actually truly understand the in-depth meaning of the word usage, what happened between the different characters, and the girls dancing in the forest, and the different relationships with Proctor, and all the different characters in there. You really have to deeply understand that. And then so alternatively, you can do the contextual question as well, and that's what we will do now. So to place the in context, right? So that is the first portion over here. So placing that in context is that Hale came to visit the Proctors to test the Christian character, right? So as I mentioned before, the church was the highest in the hierarchy of the different parts of this town. and they definitely controlled everything that was going on, monetarily, in whichever way, right? So when they sort of test your Christian character, it's as if, okay, if you answer this correctly, or if you have this specific type of character or character traits, then you are Christian enough. That is how it worked in this drama. So then he also tells them that Elizabeth's name has been mentioned in court, and then Cheever arrives to arrest Elizabeth, who is accused of using a puppet to cause harm to Abigail. So there it comes in again with the witchcraft, right? Um, so this also needs three ideas, or three different points, or because of the mark allocation. And then moving on, the second one is, which is you are a coward. Um, this, and they ask, what does Proctor's accusation suggest about Hale's character? So, in contrast to how they asked, how you mentioned contextually that Hale is coming to visit the Proctor's house, but to test their Christian character. Now, it's almost reversed, because now Proctor is telling him that he's a coward. And the answer to this is that this accusation of cowardice makes a suggestion that Hale is weak, and he should be more adamant in defending the innocent instead of just taking any accusations that comes his way. And because of this, he's also naive and lacks conviction. So that means, because it's almost as if, if you had this good Christian character, you wouldn't be so naive, and you would have more conviction, because you would know, or you would be more inclined to who the innocent is, and you would support them. And he places too much trust in the court, and not brave enough to question its decisions, speaking about Hale in this instance, and is easily misled. His pride in his expertise in identifying witches makes him gullible almost, and it allows him to be exploited, right? Then the fourth question here, which is, or rather the third question is, our greatest judges sit in Salem now, discussing irony in Hale's statement, right? So his reference to greatest judges makes a suggestion that they are the ultimate upholders of justice and integrity, which is the court. And the judges are not supreme, since they are unfair and are misled and manipulated by girls, because this court case is about, the girls and their whole incident of dancing, and one of the girls, going into a coma-like state. And then the judges are solely concerned with preserving and uplifting their own status and power. It's almost as if they aren't really fair in their judgment, because they only care about themselves in this case. And this proves them to be flawed. And their pride and their unfairness and injustice and prejudice contribute to the tragedy of this entire drama, this entire court case, right? And then just referring to the last question, is commenting on how Proctor's hatred of himself influenced his decision later in the play. So this hatred obviously stems from guilt, right? And his guilt is because of an affair that he had, right? And he reveals, and the answer to this is because Proctor reveals his adultery later on, and he signs the confession because he feels that he's a fraud and a hypocrite, because previously we mentioned how he said that they are Hale is cowardice. So he also feels like a hypocrite, because how can he say someone else is a coward when he has a strong guilty conscience of being an adulterer? and his conscience and sense of responsibility for his wife's arrest are too much, because he feels that it's his fault because of the relationship he had with Abigail that accused his wife. And when he realizes that Rebecca chose to be executed, he's almost shamed in wanting to prove his honor, and even if that honor is through being killed for what he did. And he tears up his confession and chooses to be executed, because he's so desperate to make amends for the pain his adultery has brought to his family. And he also does this to restore his reputation, in a way that he's paying for his misdeeds. Right. So they also give a another extract here. Right. So in the last question in this section, which is Danforth's lack of integrity in this extract, reflects the lack of integrity in Salem society, right? So using this extract as a starting point, critically discuss the extent to which you agree with the statement, right? So this is obviously a hefty statement, hefty question, because it's also for 4 marks. Right. So there's two ways to go about this question really. So you can either decide that you want to agree, or you can decide that you want to disagree. So if you agree, you can mention that that Salem has a Puritan nature, but there's also evidence to suggest that the citizens in this town are less than honorable and upright, even though they're controlled by the church and the court. So for example, people like Abigail and the Putnams, they instigate and they perpetuate witch trials. They act without integrity, honor. They are selfish, because all of these actions that destroy other people's lives are purely feeding them. And it's definitely dishonorable, their motives and behavior, because of how much suffering it brings to many innocent people, and the complete disregard for that. And then another point is that Danforth he's unwilling to consider postponing the executions, despite the mounting evidence that the girls have been lying, as he's trying to maintain his reputation as well as the court. So it's almost as if the the people that are instigating this are just as good as the law keepers in that sense. So it's as if this town is supposed to be pure in nature. It's supposed to be run religiously by the church, upright and just, but it's the complete opposite. So you have these little individuals that are actually upright and they are actually just, whereas majority of them are just like completely selfish, dishonorable, and they don't care about anyone else besides themselves because of the suffering they bring to others. And then additionally, Paris encouraged the witch trials as a means of deflecting attention from the wrongdoings of his daughter and niece. So there's so much deception and lies going on in the story. It's just all going back and forth under the banner of being just and fair. And he also uses the trials to secure his position as minister, without showing concern for the well-being of his parishioners, or for the truth for that matter. And then also besides that is, if you disagree, because it can be argued that there are certain characters that show a lack of integrity, but over the course of the trials their honor is restored because of that guilty conscience. So one of the first point is that Proctor having an affair with Abigail, it raises questions about his morality, and when he realizes how he dishonored himself and the people that he cares about, that he's close to, he becomes determined to restore that integrity by standing up to the injustices of the court. So and the girls, whoever is surrounding it. So through him choosing to, you know, take the punishment, that is his way of almost restoring his honor. And then Hale's integrity is tarnished when he's duped into believing that you know, these girls are telling the truth, but it's actually malicious lies. And he is also an active participant in the miscarriage of justice. And later on, in the drama, he rejects proceedings of the court, and he actually admits his culpability, because he also wishes to restore his the integrity and his morals. So he strives tirelessly, but it's also to defeat, because of the evil that is within the Salem society. And his change of heart helps to bring the trials and the evil to an end as well. And then the last point is that characters like Rebecca Nurse and Elizabeth Proctor maintain their integrity despite the pressure placed on them to confess. So you obviously, when they are pressurized to confess, it actually just means, you know, confess to whatever they are telling you to confess. But it doesn't necessarily mean that confession is the truth, right? So this or this drama is actually it can be seen as very it can see like on a baseline level that it's maybe not that deep, but on another level it can also be deep depending on how in depth you want to go with it. Then just lastly, there's one more thing in this paper, and that is the we have an unseen poem, right? So we have seen poems, and that's part of your work for the year, right? And then we also have unseen poems that's compulsory, so you can really get anything. So I just wanted to give sort of like a background on this poem, where they speak about drought, right? So this poem, more of a, not so much as an analysis, but more of a little bit of a background. It speaks about it evokes aridity. So that is like you know, when a field becomes arid, it's almost like it's so dry that it almost cracks. Those types of pictures that you see of they usually show it of the desert, and the hot, you know, the big hot fields and places in South Africa, and the special environmental aspects of the poem are made clear from the outset, to be a climatic and geographical case study of a specific place and descriptive analysis of its inhabitants, right? So they speak here about the heat, right? And then it shows the poet's interest in the temperature and physical sensations associated with African landscape. And this analysis or scrutiny is also reinforced by all pervading, like words such as all pervading and crinkles, with connotations of heat and dryness, and this just a reason why I also wanted to focus on, not focus, but just give a sort of background of this poem. is because when you get the unseen poems, it refers to what is relevant in whatever sense. It might be politically, it might be within your set work, it might be whatever is just going on within society over the past 5 years or so. So this also just tests your abilities with regard to whether or not you are paying attention to what is actually going on around you, because that is very important. And this specific poem is also an example of it. So just last, if there are any specific problems that anyone may have with any of the set work, you can contact me on my email, which is ismailmuslima@gmail.com, and you can send me specific questions, or if you want a session on poetry, whether it is reading or comprehension, or you need help with writing, I'm definitely free for that, inshallah. And I hope that this was at least a little bit helpful. There's not as much time to go through everything because of the high volume of work that I know all the students have in grade 12, but inshallah it will go easy as long as you go through everything and you study and you plan properly, inshallah.
And I want to say a big shukran to you, Muslima, for once again taking us through this journey of language and focusing today on paper 2, session 1. Once again, that email address is Muslima, or rather Ismail Muslima, ISMAIL @gmail.com. And of course, you can mail around what has been covered today, or if you would like extra tuition sessions, please contact her on that email. A big shukran to you, Muslima. All the best, and yeah, just have a fantastic day further. Well, that's it for the Matric Revision program today. And as we mentioned before, you can visit the YouTube channel and the Facebook channel if you'd like to go back and check out all the other sessions that you've missed, or if you were only able to see a part of our live stream, you can go back and check it out on Facebook and YouTube. These videos we've made up there. From myself, Muhammad Fasih Peterson, until I speak to you again, inshallah, I bid you assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Have a fantastic day further and stay safe.